Right. Thank you. First of all, good afternoon, Erica. Erica, I'm honored and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to my podcast, Meet the Success Buddies. To give you a background a little bit, Meet the Success Buddies is a social initiative from my side where I want to touch the life of young people all across the world who have this ambition, who hold the ambition to do great things in their life, but they are not that privileged. And I want to foster self confidence and develop unwavering self belief in that, believe in them. So that's my purpose. I'm on a mission, and I'm so grateful that all the successful guests are accepting my invitation and we are trying to make a change. So good to see you, Erica, first. And how do you feel today? How is it going?
Good, good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, and it's really nice to hear your mission and how you really want to be a light for younger generations and generations who might not, on paper, look like they have it all that everybody else has, but let them know they still can go and get everything they want to get.
Definitely. So for the Erica, I would like you to introduce. I would like you to introduce yourself to the audience. So I'm going to say a few lines about you. I can say a whole lot, but with a limited time, I'm just going to say a few lines. Erica is for the audience. Erica is a clinical director at Tremendous Care LLC. Erica is an expert and provides mental health treatment and consultation services for young people and families. You Her specializations is in trauma and focused on CBT, and you help people with alcohol and drug abuse disorder, mental health issues. With that, Erica also holds a bachelor's degree from in psychology from University of Kentucky and a master's degree from Xavier University in mental health. When it comes to mental health, audience, Erica is expert, and Erica also, you also believe in family values, and currently she is busy raising two children and enjoy her time with her husband. So without further delay, Erica, we would like to jump on, we would like to jump on your specialty, basically mental health. Mental health is very important, but people are, I feel, are hesitant to talk about it. If I tell somebody, or if somebody tells like, hey, I'm feeling depressed, people will think like, oh my god, he's mad. But that's not the case, right? So according to you, Erica, what is the definition of mental health? And the second question to you is, how can somebody identify the trigger that they are not mentally healthy?
Well, great questions. So I think the definition of mental health first, we have to, I think, step back and broaden our scope a little bit. So when you think about mental health, um, it's a combination of how you're doing in lots of aspects in your life, and so how you're doing emotionally, socially, mentally, physically, spiritually, all these different parts of you, because there are lots of different parts that make up who you are as a person.
Yes.
And so for me, the definition of mental health is encompassing all of who you are and all of how you want to present in the world. And do you feel like you're at a space where you are being heard, you are being valued? And that goes both ways. You're valuing yourself, listening to yourself, as well as you're wanting to be heard and be valued by other people. And then also how show yourself in the world, how you present yourself and hold yourself, and are you doing that in a space where you feel comfortable and confident, and you can look out and find support where you need it? Because mental health doesn't mean that all is lost. We
Right.
all ebb and flow in life, where we have moments where we feel stronger and more confident, and moments where we're not feeling as strong and not feeling as confident. And it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It just means that there might be a resource you might want to lean out on.
Exactly.
And so finding how you are healthy or unhealthy in mental health is if you're at a space, in my opinion, if you're in a space where you feel disconnected, and disconnected in a way that you feel like you're not able to communicate, or you're not able to connect with the world around you, because that's when things can get tricky, and that's when things can get dangerous. When I'm either so low on the Richter scale that I'm not able to communicate and connect with folks, or I'm so high on the Richter scale that I'm all over the place, not able to communicate and connect with other folks because they're just not designed to do life in silos and alone.
Yeah, what a beautiful way you describe mental health, Erica. And I would give you the reason why I invited you on this show. During COVID in year 2020, especially I hail from India, and we had a celebrity, an actor. His net worth was 100 million, and he committed suicide. So that is where people came to know that he was fighting with depression, but entire
Yeah.
world was not knowing about it. And we all were like isolated ourselves in
Yep.
because we were quarantined ourselves, so people never knew, right, why he has committed suicide. But and there was like he was dealing with the depression kind of stuff. So that's where my focus was to bring you here and talk a lot about the mental health. So what I understand from you about mental health is it is just more about feeling valued, feeling caring for others, and communicating with people, right? If we are not able to communicate, or if we are keeping it to ourselves, that is not going to help, right?
Yeah, communication and connection, I think, are the big things that mental health boils down to.
Absolutely. Thank you, Erica, for that. Again, second question to you, Erica, is what is your role currently at Tremendous Care LLC? What are the things you do, and on a day-to-day basis, and what kind of therapy you provide to your clients?
Yeah, so at Tremendous Care Therapy LLC, we provide mental health services. So I do individual, family, group, couples work, and we provide talk therapy, experiential, like creative arts kind of work. We do. I'm trained in some trauma curriculums, and most of them are CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy. So
Right.
some of it, like talk therapy, is just kind of how our brain works with our emotions and how it works with what we do, and
Right.
kind of connected triangle and figuring out how that manifests for folks, how that looks for different people. And so I'm also trained in some grief therapy as well, because it's another one of my specialties, working with grief and the grieving process itself, and recognizing that's on a continuum. There's such a thing as good grief. We have grief that compels us to make change, compels us to be a light, a beacon in the world. And then we have grief that has negative manifestations that keeps us stuck in like revenge fantasies, or keeps us stuck in fantasies of no longer wanting to be present and being around. And I think it's important to recognize and help folks recognize where they are on that continuum, and support them being able to resolve anything that is negative and unhealthy and unhelpful, and then be able to continue and process through things that are healthy and helpful for them, because grief is just the form of love. There's a relationship, or a thing or a process that is now lost, and that was important to you and that matters, so we don't ignore that. That's not grief. And then finally, I actually also have a certification working with folks who have problematic sexual behavior. So folks who might be adjudicated for sexual crimes, or folks who might have experience some type of sexual abuse. And so work with individuals to support them being able to recognize that they might have been a part of a really challenging or even heinous situation, really change someone's life and change their life also, but they can still make better choices and be a safe person, so that they're able to live a somewhat successful or productive life moving forward, and productive being preventing any future victimization or harm. And so through the company, we provide in-person services, virtual services for these specialty areas, as well as many other mental health areas, working with folks who struggle with depression, anxiety, ADHD, family issues, parent-child issues, lots of different things like that. I like that because I like the creativity in that, and working with folks where they are and helping them get to where they want to go in life.
Exactly. I think you are making it easy for me. Like a lot of questions which I'm gonna ask, you are answering it, so which is great. Erica, let's go back a little bit on what we talked about grief. We talked about sexual abuse, right? So for example, what I understand from sexual abuse is like somebody might have been raped, or maybe like some kind of abuse they have to face, right, in the past. So as a
Mhm.
counselor, if somebody is coming to you, right, so you just, I mean, that is again my perception, and I don't want to go with that. So you would be like, you are just showing them a different path, like, hey, whatever has happened in the past, right? Now you have a beautiful life. So it's like you might be trying to show them a different world, or different, I would say, different way to look at the problem, right? Or how you deal with that. If somebody, let's say, that is struggling with like sexual abuse, right? So what are the things you do for them as a part of CBT?
Yeah, so there are different things that occur within that. And honestly, I'm really a fan of meeting people where they are. So different people come in on different areas of their journey, if they've dealt with sexual abuse. So
Right.
someone who's been a victim of sexual abuse, the first thing is to make sure they have a place they feel safe. They feel
Right.
safe to process and talk about what actually occurred.
Mhm.
And recognizing that that doesn't always happen the first time you meet them, because they
Right.
want to develop a relationship with you. Therapy is a relationship. You have to
Yes.
feel comfortable, confident talking to
Absolutely.
me before I could ever want you to say anything to me. So first, I start to kind of process developing a relationship with the individuals so they feel safe, even coming back the next time. Because anytime you meet with someone for therapy, that
Right.
first time you meet with them can be the last time you meet with them if they don't feel comfortable and they don't feel like they
Mm,
want to come back and talk with you.
yeah.
So with someone that's been a victim, I'll talk, just set in the space of safety and say, hey, I'm here to kind of meet you and work on what you want to work on at your pace. Because
Right.
another thing sexual abuse happens is it's an issue of control. Someone has
Right.
violated you in a way, and there are lots of ways to violate folks, but you've been violated in a way where control was taken from you. And so in therapy, this is a space where you're going to have control again. And so you can talk about what you want to talk about when you want to talk about it. I'll have some suggestions and some things for us to process and work through based on the things that you bring to me. So I'll have, like, with my training, I have lots of tools we
Yeah.
can use. And my job will be to figure out the appropriate tool for us to use at that time. And you can say, nope, Erica, you missed the mark. And I'll say, cool, let's try again. Or you can
Yeah.
say, this feels right, and we'll process this way. And then as we
Right.
develop that relationship and you feel comfortable working on the issues that occurred, then our job becomes, okay, because of this experience of sexual abuse, how's it changed how you see yourself, how you see other people, how you move within the world? What do you not like about those things, so that we can make sure that we can resolve those things? So, like, if you feel unsafe outside of your home because of this incident that occurred, my work becomes helping you work together to find a way that you can feel safe if you want to leave your home, if you want to go places. How do we help resolve what's going on head, heart, and body in a way
Right.
that you feel safe, comfortable moving forward again? And then we'll go through those themes and process those things. Sometimes it culminates in the person feeling like they want to tell their story. They might tell me the whole story of what happened, how it changed, how they moved and thought in the world. And then now what they're thinking now that they've got some skills and supports to deal with that, and also skills and supports to maintain their safety moving forward. Or sometimes they don't necessarily need to tell their story, but they can talk about the skills that they've gained from the process and the things that they are able to do now that's different, better or different as a result of our work together. And that's kind of like on that victim side. If someone comes in and they've been a perpetrator of sexual abuse, it's a far different program. There's a lot of
Right.
accountability and work towards what we call like restitution. So not just saying, my bad, or no, recognizing you did something that was really I'm trying to find like the best word, because inappropriate is not a strong enough word, but you've done something that's really changed this person's life and your
Yes.
life for the rest of forever. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're condemned and you can never be a contributing member to the part of society you're allowed to engage in moving forward, because there are consequences for your actions,
Right.
but you are allowed to grow from this, with the concept of your growth is, I'm not going to harm anyone like this moving forward. Because we forget that a lot of times folks that have caused harm have been harmed in the past, and it's not an excuse at all,
Yeah.
but it happens, and we want to recognize that, we want to deal with that again. So it's about the combination of accountability for their actions, but also an idea that you can now purpose yourself for good, and you can now be supportive to the folks that you need to be accountable to. And, you know, so that might be your family, that might be your workplace, that might be where you live, because there are rules that you'll have to abide by now because of the choices that you made, and helping them to kind of move forward in that. Because people forget that sexual abuse is a continuum. When we think about sex, we do jump to rape, but there's voyeurism, there is you know, touch offenses where you have like frauderism, where you bumped against somebody, rubbed against somebody, or things like that. There is pornography, and that's what our society has a really huge problem that they don't want to talk about with pornography. A lot of the digital voyeurism and things like that that occur, and those are the things that, again, those individuals, we can do a lot of good work to kind of process with them how what they're doing now, they might not think that they're hurting people, but they truly are, and they're hurting themselves as well. And so we can do a lot of work with that. But again, same thing, it's just meeting them where they are, processing those holes in like maybe psychoeducation about what healthy sexuality and sex is, holes in maybe how they might not have had the best models growing up, kind of processing how they can deal with consent itself. And a lot of folks don't really know what the tenets of consent are, and how they think, oh, I thought that they were into it. Well, did you ask them? And they're allowed to change their mind, and recognizing things too. So there are a whole list of things that we go through to help them recognize and understand what is healthy and what's unhealthy. And the accountability piece is always with that when it comes to someone who has perpetrated a sexual crime.
Yep, very, very beautiful, Erica. What I loved about your response is like, they need to, once they are abused, right, you try to make themselves, you try to help them with the therapy and tell them that, hey, your heart, your body, and your mind, everything should be healthy now, right? And then go from it, because like sexual abuse has nothing to do just with body. It rips up your self-esteem, right? It causes a lot of your mental issues, you know. So you try to fight with them, and I must say, Erica, this is a really great cause you're working for, you know, and I'm very fortunate to have you here today. You know, I know you already talked. Yeah, I know you already talked about a lot of your specialties, right? Like ADHD and anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, right? I'm interested in knowing about the ADHD and mostly ADHD, what kind of disorder it is, you know, and whether it can be cured or not if somebody is suffering from that disorder, ADHD.
So ADHD is a psychological disorder that it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So it comes in a couple forms. There's a combined type, which means you're suffering from both the hyperactivity, so inability to kind of calm down and be present where you need to be present and calm down, and attentive, inability to focus and kind of, you know, finish a task or get things done. And then you also can have a flavor of ADHD that's just the inattentive struggle, or a flavor of ADHD that's just the hyperactivity disorder. And so those are kind of the three different flavors or versions of ADHD that are out there. ADHD has a highly neurological component. There are neurons in our brain that are flooding receptors, and there's a place where you're either getting too much of them or not enough of them. And so this is a disorder that is highly, highly treatable with pharmacological support. Not everyone wants pharmacological support because not everyone wants to be on medication, but ADHD medications, they do one or two things. They work or they don't work. Because what they do is if you're having that flood of those neurotransmitters, the medications will cover those receptors so that they don't get overwhelmed by the neurotransmitters. So you're not struggling with those symptoms. Now, there are natural ways that folks try to work through this. That includes diet and exercise, maybe ways you get caffeine, because what those what that medication does is speed your system up similar to ADHD and just kind of top out. So there are ways that people do that to try to help themselves be able to focus. Then there are lots of other behavioral symptom or behavioral skills you can do. Like I love working with kids because we work on different behavioral things that they can do in the classroom. There are different tips you can do with giving yourself space to get some focus, that need for stimulation in a way that won't get in the way and disrupt your learning. Same thing with adults. There are different things you can do sitting at your desk to help disrupt, that or to not disrupt your learning or your ability to function at work. And that can include just a routine with breaks. That can be different fidgets or different things. Sometimes you put like the Velcro things on the bottom of their desk so they can kind of move things with their hands. Sometimes it might be having a certain type of seating that gives you a little bit of wiggle room or things like that to help you to kind of focus in that energy. Because also one thing that people forget is folks who struggle with ADHD, it's a struggle to pay attention or to focus across all domains. So it's not just like I can't focus in school or work. You still can't focus on the things you want to do, or you still have trouble or difficulty in things that you want to do as well. And that's the difference between I'm just, having a day where I'm not as focused, or I truly am struggling with a mental health disorder. So as far as curing goes, most of my educational experience and my practical experience with the diagnosis is this more so if we learn to manage it in a way that it no longer gets in the way of life. And you can do that with or without medication supports, but it's definitely going to take some behavioral skill work to do to kind of help you with managing that in a way that it doesn't get in the way of life.
Makes sense. Erica, because of ADHD, are you seeing a lot of problems with mental focus? And what is the demographics who are kind of like suffering from this issues? Either it is adult or it starts in childhood.
So ADHD is one of those diagnoses that are in the section. Well, they were in the last diagnostic manual in the section of like diseases that start in childhood. But we're finding a lot of adults are being diagnosed with ADHD these days as well. Some of that is coming from saying like, hey, it was undiagnosed as a kid, and now they're recognizing it as an adult as we get more psychoeducation and information out there so people recognize these symptoms. But it really is something that, again, there's a change in how your brain functions. And typically, with that, sometimes, it can happen at different points of life based on the different things that you experience.
Makes sense. Erica. So, but it is like it has been a problem. I mean, there is nothing wrong talking about ADHD if somebody is not able to focus it or not able to make a proper movement, right? I mean, thanks for laying it down really simple for me. I understood what ADHD is. Erica, coming back to one of your specialty, which is like helping people with substance abuse, right? Does that mean that you also help with like if somebody is under the influence of alcohol or drug abuse? Do you deal with those as well?
Yeah, so I do work with individuals who have issues with substance use disorders. And again, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it can be a combination of the two.
Gotcha.
And so I've done some training with specifically with adolescents and their use. And at one job that I worked before, and then more recently, I did some training with a curriculum that we use with adults as well. So I've kind of got experience with both areas. Substance disorders can be really tricky because it's usually, and my philosophy on substance use disorders is they're usually the kind of second thing that comes on. Usually there is something else, some underlying issue that's occurred within that person's life. And then substance at one point was like an escape or a way of coping,
right?
An unhealthy or unhelpful way that they've coped. That's now flip-flopped, and now the substance has become something they've done so much that now it's become its own problem. Whereas it may have helped with a different problem before, now it's become its own problem because it's become so intense. And that's just been my personal experience with the individuals that I've worked with that substance use.
Makes sense, absolutely. And I feel, Erica, alcohol and drug abuse is pernicious, but it is prevalent across the world, right? Let's talk about, let's say that you are in the rural area of India, especially in villages. And as you said, that substance abuse is secondary, right? I could get that they might be suffering from a different problem is in life, and they want to have this alcohol or drug as a escapism, right? They want to escape from
Mhm.
it, so that's why they are having it. And it just starts like I won't say that it starts as a social drinker or something, we will just jump onto the problem, right? Growing up in India, I have seen some families, Erica, where like husbands are drunk, too drunk, and it causes this alcohol has caused destroyed the family relationship. They go home and beat their family, and it all the problems starts. To be honest with you, I do get it that they drink because they feel like they are laborers. They do day jobs, and where they don't get paid enough. So at the end of the day, if they are tired, they try to have this alcohol, right? But you're having alcohol and you are trying to spoil your relationship, which is not good, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you would be, if somebody is an alcohol abuse, and if he's dealing with it, and they don't have privilege to have a counselor like you, they may not have the money or they may not have the resources, so what are the few advice you would like to them to come out of that situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's really challenging when you see that kind of your routine almost perpetuates the
Right.
problem and kind of makes it keep on going around. And then it's hard to disrupt that problem if you don't have the ability to get to resources to help disrupt that problem. But with someone who might feel limited on resources, I'd like to remind them that the first thing is recognizing that there's a problem. That's the first part, because a lot of times when we deal with substances, we're numbing ourselves to reality and what's going on around us, and so
Right.
we're not able to recognize it's a problem in the first place, and that's why it keeps going around that circle. So even recognizing it sometimes can be a small way to disrupt that problem. And then it becomes, for me, it might be a harm reduction thing. So instead of me like, I'm going to quit cold turkey, that's hard.
Yeah, I
You've
know.
done it. You wouldn't do it if it didn't work. It's
Right.
obviously helping to dull whatever pain you're feeling. So we want to recognize that's going to be a challenge. And also the thing you think about with substance abuse work is, as we're working to resolve the substance use, we're working to build up skills. So when they feel a certain kind of way, they don't go right back to the substance because it
Got
worked.
you.
That's why
Yes.
they use it. So with someone who might not be able to get to resources like a licensed provider, I
Mhm.
remind them, like, maybe even seeing something like your podcast and recognizing, oh, this is something I don't like about my life and I want to change. So
Right.
maybe instead of having 5 beers tomorrow, I'll try 4.
It
And so
makes
I
sense.
start to wean things down. And then maybe I'll try to do a little bit of exercise
Yes.
while I have, so that I'm starting to build up some type of skill as I'm starting to reduce that usage. There's also, because the way the world works now with the internet, lots of resources online that you
Yes.
can kind of reach out to. So maybe you can't get in front of a counselor, but you can find some free resources online.
Yeah.
Sammy, Samsung, sorry, is a national organization that their bread and butter is focusing on work with substance use. And so they have tons and tons of free resources online. And I believe it's like samsa.org, if I'm not mistaken. But they're a place that has free resources online. You can look online. They have readers that you can kind of read information about what's going on.
Right.
You can reach out. There are counselors that provide services for either pro bono, which is completely free, or even they might provide services that are a reduced rate. And so, like, I have a company that I go through for reduced rate services for folks who don't have the insurance that I work with, to try to make sure therapy is affordable for everybody. And so I keep a certain amount of slots open that I'm always, able to provide some support therapy for someone who may not have um, the means to like pay outright, or they might have the insurance to help cover their services. So there are ways out there, and it's
Definitely.
just going to be a way of finding somebody who is connected to you. That,
Yeah.
and then with the internet too, it makes
Yes.
it a little bit easier to find somebody, even they might not be in your city, but maybe they're in your state, or maybe they're in
Yes.
your country. Maybe they have a
Exactly.
license to work in your country and
Right.
they're allowed to do that. But sometimes in some of our other countries, like outside of the United States, sometimes the regulations are a little bit different on who's allowed to provide counseling. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. So
Right.
definitely remember, counseling is a relationship. You don't have to just accept the first person you come to. You can say no, thank you, and
Yeah.
not come back. That's completely okay. You have that right.
Sure. So, Erica, what I understand from you is if they want to come out of this situation, right? So the first thing is they have to understand that they are the part of problem. They have the problem. They have to accept that I'm suffering. I have the problem. And second thing is just like upgrade your skill a little bit. That limit down on the amount of alcohol you are having, and then engage yourself, right? Try to find more activities or more things which you are do which you are passionate about, like as you said, right, exercising or honing out the skills. And after this podcast, Erica, I will work with you and we will get some free resources, and I will put those resources here in the description link so that they can refer to.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. We're
Awesome.
happy to do
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Let's
Yeah.
talk
And
about, yeah, sorry.
I could say with substance accountability, because it's going to be a hard journey and a
Yeah.
journey. So you want some accountability along the way. And that's one of the things that makes those AA programs like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, that's what makes those programs successful, the accountability piece.
Gotcha.
People have mixed emotions about the abstinence versus harm reduction piece of it. I function more on a harm reduction scale because
Mhm.
I'd rather you try something than nothing, because
Right.
it's hard to go from 0 to abstinence. But I do appreciate those programs for the accountability piece because it's important to have somebody to support you through this process. And it might not be who you think. You might want it to be maybe someone who's close to you, but it might be better to be somebody different. And I just strongly encourage people to be open to whomever might be a good resource for you at that time.
Sure, sure. Yeah, Erica, had to have an accountability partner also helps. That is like a great advice. Going further a little bit, Erica, on the problem which society is facing right now, especially students, who have this kind of like who are in competitive environment. I grew up in India, and it is a country with a lot of people, so you have a lot of competition all around, and because of this, a lot of students are in a pressure exam. I would say exam anxiety. Sometimes it leads to depression, and
Yeah.
I have seen like very soaring rate of suicide, in maybe last 10 years. So if a student is listening to us, right, and he feels that like he's not able to cope up with his friends, they have the different skill set, and he is going into depression, right? So how he should deal with it? What are the things you would like to advise them?
So for students, it's really challenging to recognize that this moment that feels like everything is
Yeah.
just that, it's a moment. And that's a challenge when folks get so low on the totem pole that they're not communicating or connecting. And that's when those truly deep and dark depressive thoughts that lead to like some ideations of suicide and things and gestures of suicide, that's when those things come out. And so recognizing that this moment that is intense and challenging is just that, it's a moment, it's not forever, and we don't want to make a forever decision
Right.
out of a moment. And
Absolutely.
so some of that remind them is to communicate, to reach
Yeah.
out to whomever you feel comfortable to. With
Right.
students, sometimes student services through your school.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be a trusted adult, a trusted peer, or anyone. Because I'm thinking about students of all ages, because students aren't just kids anymore. They're adult students now and adult learners. And sometimes as
Right.
adults, we put so much pressure on ourselves. I'm grown. I should know this stuff. Well, you're still learning. We learn and
Yes.
grow every day we die. So it's okay that you don't know it all. And that's a sign that you're still moving forward in life because you're still learning, you're still growing. And so
Absolutely.
recognize having someone to connect to is the process. Like, I'm really struggling right now. I just need someone to be. And we're
Right.
recognizing I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to be here with me, or to be an ear, or to take me out and distract me, but just someone that can kind of help and support. I remind folks, especially students, that there are levels to support. One
Right.
thing is, I think, what can I do for me? So if I'm struggling or having a bad day, maybe I can take a nap or read a book or call a friend, but those are things I can do for me. What
Gotcha.
can you do for me? Maybe you can listen to me, you can distract me, you can remind me of some skills that I have that I can use. Hey, Erica, don't you paint? Why don't you do a painting today that kind of helps you kind of get some of your thoughts and emotions out of your head and onto a canvas? Or what can we do for me? So what are some things we can do together that can kind of help process? Maybe we can go for a walk together and talk about some of the things that are on my brain, or maybe we can go together and to a professional, and you can kind of wait for me while I
Sure.
have my conversation with a professional. But just thinking about, there's not just one way that you have to or need to support yourself, but there
Right.
are multiple ways to reach out and find support. And that's that connection piece, so that we're either communicating or connecting, so that we're not leaving ourselves vulnerable for some, unhealthy
Definitely.
or unsafe thoughts or feelings or actions to come out.
Sure. Sure. Thanks, Erica. And I would like to say big thank you to Erica, and thanks first of all for spreading positivity and helping people to find joy in their life by treating them. Today, my mission was to talk about mental health, and I'm really thankful to you that you took out time and had a discussion with me about the mental health. Especially, this podcast is going to help people who are struggling with the mental health, and we will connect, Erica, and I will find some more resources from you, and I will try to help people, to just find the joy in their life, what a beautiful life they have got. So thank you, Erica. Thank you so much for your time today, and I'm really looking forward to learn more from you. Myself and Neha and my entire family is so grateful to have you as my friend.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I also want to remind folks that now we have a national suicide and like mental health support number, 988. So
Right.
again, wherever you are, if you need support, 988 is a free 24/7, 365 number to call and just talk. It doesn't mean
Definitely.
that you're at the end of your rope any more than you're at the beginning of your rope. It's just somewhere where you can go and find support.
Sure. Thank you, Erica, once again. We are right on the time, and thank you so much for stepping up and helping me on my mission. I'm looking forward to learn more from you, and we will connect again. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for having me.
Yeah. Have a good day and see you. Bye bye.